Hello, welcome to my presentation on the Downtown Bozeman Parking Benefit District. One thing to note before we get started is that this policy is not currently implemented, although it was voted on and could be implemented in the future as of March 2nd, 2020. This would require 60% vote of approval from neighborhood stakeholders, which will be a serious challenge for it as it was highly contentious. First off, I would like to thank the experts that graciously shared their time with me. Dr. Andrea Hamre, a research associate on mobility and public transportation with WTI, Paul Neubauer, who is a Bozeman Parking Commission member and former Planning Division member, and then Brett Fontenot, who's the Director of Economic Development and Community. He won't be appearing in the film due to recording issues, but he was super helpful and was present at the highly contentious March 2nd meeting and has been an advocate for this policy implementation. One thing to note is the size of the downtown parking management district. Currently, our downtown zone is demarcated as B3 zoning district, and this parking management district would extend up to 1,000 feet outside of that in order to try to buffer that whole area and avoid spillover parking that has been occurring and is looking to solve that issue and make parking more equitable and profitable for the city and the community. Some background information. Residents and businesses in the community will buy parking permits with a, at this point, unknown price, which has caused a lot of anxiety within the community. But it looks to be likely fairly minimal. For reference, the parking permits in the neighborhood just north of MSU's campus is $30 annually, which is, pennies on the day. Others into the area will be able to purchase parking permits at an increased rate from what residents purchase it at, up to an 85% parking fill. This ensures that we will be able to still find parking with having up to 15% of spots available at any given time. It's usually looked at during peak. Proceeds from this policy will go to street amenities, sidewalk repair, curb maintenance, and public transit enhancement. Some of the big policy considerations to ask ourselves is, does the public own the street or do private residents own the street? And then who should pay to maintain and improve these streets? And then kind of on a more holistic level, should the government even be involved in the regulation of public goods, or should it be left up to the consumer entirely? Here is Andrea and Paul discussing the downtown Bozeman Parking Benefit District. Enjoy.
But yeah, think about what, issuing these 2 permits per household. That's basically kind of transferring the public right of way, access to the public right of way to the private households, right? It's public right of way. It's the street. You don't own the street in front of your home, and I think that's such a fundamental challenge for in virtually every place I've ever lived. There's this real sense of ownership to the public street outside of your home, and you don't own it. So it's a choice for the Bozeman community to give that away for free. We're going to give you space to store your snow blower on the street, and we're going to give you space to store your guest bed on the street, and right? So why do we give away public space to store a certain kind of private property? I think it's reasonable to take a second, look at that. So I mean, I would say that they might be approaching this parking benefit zone in with a little bit too much automobile accommodation in mind. Try and talk with the community about, what are the trade-offs here if we devote this space and Another issue is sort of there's always this tension around what's called spillover parking, of like who has the right to use to park on the street and when and where. And so I think, these parking kind of benefit zones, it sounds like it's sort of kind of picking who should have primary access and who should it be more difficult for, who should it be constraining. Really a best practice of, the Shoupian perspective on Shoup. I think when he talks about parking meters, he's like, don't just throw in meters and have it be a black box. That's not a great way to build public trust or buy-in. Very explicitly use that money for beautification, for parklets, for trash cleanup and things, so that it's very visible that parking meter money is being used for the benefit of the immediate area. Management decisions aren't made in a vacuum, and it affects the rest of our community, including our transit system. So we have a fare free bus system here. I think it's something we can all be really proud of. For a community of Bozeman's size, it's quite extensive. Many of our peer communities don't have anywhere near as robust transit. But I was talking with David, and I was saying, if there were one policy lever I could push, and it was either free transit or parking meters downtown, I think I would push the paid parking lever. So it's really hard to get people on the bus, even if it's free. If it's really easy to drive and park anywhere you want, it's just a real uphill battle, even if the bus is free. So I would say that Streamline is doing the best it can.
The free parking paradigm will not last much longer, and I think that's fair. I think that is a fair domino to have fall. I'd really like to see us when we go to paid parking. It'll happen eventually, but having like a service worker permit, particularly if the garage continues to be underutilized, be like, oh, you're a service, so you could. I don't know how you do it, but you have to be careful that when all the parking becomes for fee, that it doesn't sort of become a regressive tax. Like, so for the rich people driving their Audis from Bull Run or Black Bull, whatever that subdivision is, it's no big deal. But for the person that's tending the bar, waiting tables, vacuum, house cleaning, $5 a day is a big outreach thing, and there is quite a bit of agreement that the existing public assets need to be utilized. And what you'll notice is when you drive up there, it's very insular. Right in the permit district, occupancies maybe like 15%. As soon as you go right outside the district, it's closer to 80. Which happens. It's a logical thing. But one way to better utilize that, and people up there all want to keep their permits cheap, is make it more like a benefit district. And let outsiders pay. And so I'd like to look at it as like concentric circles. So just like MSU. So if you want to park in the tight circle, you pay $600 a year. You want to go the next block out, go $400. Want to go the next block out, go $250. And you could even just start really small. Just be like, oh, we're going to sell 250 permits, or who knows what the number is. Start small, and you can always loosen it. And then the people up there, their cost for their annual permit would go up, and you get a higher utilization. I don't know.
Current community believes this Bozeman downtown parking management district is critical to reclaim the streets as a public good in order to facilitate that growth and make it less painful for both the homeowners and the district and commuters into the area. Some policy alternatives that I think could be more beneficial would to be an increasing permit rate per vehicle per owner. One of the big concerns we've seen is that based on residents, they would get a set number of permits. This becomes really problematic if you have a group of, say, 4 different renters in one home, and it could put undue pressure on those citizens. But also, if you are a family of 2 and have 2 cars, maybe you should pay a higher rate than what 4 people would pay for having 4 cars. We'd also like to see spot-specific pricing. So based on proximity to different amenities, having either concentric circles or have it even more block coordinated in order to allow the pricing to kind of dictate, okay, where are people willing to park, and to try to alleviate pressure from the front end towards downtown, where you could see the 85% fill if we're given completely open parking across the whole area, that it would all be loaded towards the downtown district rather than spread out. And then I would like to see portions of the fund earmarked to alleviate parking demands. So this could be public transit improvements, which are already currently recommended, bike lane infrastructure improvements, and then untalked about is ride sharing subsidizing. One of the issues that is found in a lot of rural communities is the inability for ride sharing to be financially viable due to lack of rate. And so having that supported by the local community could be helpful. And just thank you for listening to my presentation. And I would like to thank Brett, Andrea, and Paul for sharing their time with me. It has been a pleasure. Thank you.